What's good? It's Casper. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie The Untouchables. The Untouchables is a 1987 movie. It's rated R and it's an hour and 59 minutes. Directed by Brian De Palma. There are other movies about Al Capone. This perspective is not directly just about Al Capone. It's like on the other side of seeing like the people trying to track him down and basically put him behind bars for anything that they can. Movie The Untouchables is about a treasury agent named Elliot Ness. His whole goal and his whole determination is to take down Al Capone. And in this movie, it's not an easy thing because Al Capone literally has everybody in his control, even the police department. So Ness wants to make a small team to help him prosecute and capture Al Capone any way they can. So the team Ness assembles are very interesting characters and all unique in their own way. During this process, Al Capone finds out that this group is after him. Al Capone does many things in this movie to try to attack them and get them out of the way. So in this movie, you see a lot of events on why they're called the Untouchables. Very interesting to see that they're trying to attack Al Capone, and it's almost like a war. It's a straight out war between the Untouchables and Al Capone's whole army, but very cool to see this 1920s, 1930s era, and Robert De Niro is Al Capone. So with this movie being more focused on the Untouchables team, the thing that I found out about this was that this movie was actually based off a TV show, and this movie was based off a novel or a book as well. I'm not sure if it was from the character or from the person, Elliot Ness. I'm not sure if it was from him, but this movie is based on true events. The way the movie started with that camera position and that straight direction towards Robert De Niro's character, Al Capone, seeing that angle, for me, I feel like this movie was going to give a lot of cool angles, a lot of fun angles. This movie really had a tag along, follow along feel with all the characters. The camera direction helped a lot with this movie. It's nothing too crazy because it is a 1987 movie, but the feel that I got from this movie was just having fun and seeing how realistic this might have looked in real life. The quality in here changed a lot at times. Sometimes you could see in different scenes that the director is going for one certain angle, and another scene is let me try this angle. Really enjoyed the camera direction whenever the director was moving around in a circle, following along the characters with the scenery shots that showed Chicago and showed all the cars driving around downtown. Really enjoyed that they stick to that whole view perspective where you could see like the whole desert view. The camera direction here also had intense moments where just waiting for that next thing to happen. Some slow motion shots in here that did give me that like 80s feel. Even with the actors in here, at times it just seemed like they were just placed there as a pawn and then the character just attacks them. And you could see it was from that time, so it wasn't even a bother. The camera direction did capture some brutal hits, did capture some really unique gunshots, eye perspective shots where even the camera is pretending with the movement of the camera, it looks like that's the person looking around. The movie made you feel very antsy. It brought you along. It just made you look around. It made you just want to wander along with the camera. Soundtrack definitely sounded like gangster, smooth, mafia, classy, and every moment the soundtrack was going along with this movie, it was dope. Really cool. With the characters in this movie, I'm very shocked that Robert De Niro is playing Al Capone. Like I said, the movie starts with Robert De Niro, Al Capone, and you could just see his power and you could just see his status in Chicago at that time in the 30s. These are the main characters like Al Capone, the Untouchables, but the environment around, you can really feel the energy and you can feel that Al Capone was not playing in many scenarios. But Robert De Niro's acting in here was something that I really enjoyed. I thought he really did a good job pouring out those emotions. At his facial demeanor in a lot of the moments, he was really trying to put it on spot on. He did keep a cool, calm, collective gangster mafia guy, and it's crazy during that time there was other gangsters and other mafia people in Chicago as well, and it's crazy that I don't know too much about Al Capone's story, but from the sense of this movie, you can see that this dude has so much power. Cool with this movie, it's not really about the details of Al Capone's life, but it's really cool to know that there's other movies that do involve and do get direct into his life and upcoming, so I'll get to those soon. But this right here was a cool introduction to see what type of personality he was. Whenever Robert De Niro had that screen time as Al Capone, I thought it was well done. Couple brutal scenes in here that came out of nowhere, like the dinner scene where he's talking to all his men. Besides that scene being very brutal, a lines were great. So let's shout out the writing for this movie. It was well done for sure. And that scene with De Niro talking to his men is one of the reasons why this movie is really good with its writing and its camera direction. This movie does show a lot of brutal scenes, and it shows a lot of bloody scenes as well, but on the gory where it sees guts or maybe brains come out, that's where it's very limited. I would say like their focus was definitely showing that it got bloody during that time, because they were putting blood on the walls, they're putting blood on other people, blood everywhere. The director, he's done other mafia movies too, and De Niro's been in mafia movies too, so it goes hand in hand. De Niro's just a boss on playing classy mafia. Any character that De Niro plays, any style of mafia, he can do it. His tone of voice is always dope, and it sounds like a boss. It sounds like this dude's been through a lot of stuff, and even with his facial eye-to-eye connection with any character, you can just tell that this dude knows how to put out a good, powerful performance. So shout out to De Niro. The character Elliot Ness is played by Kevin Costner. Cool introduction for me because I haven't really seen any of his movies that I could recall on the top of my head, but really enjoyed that character Elliot Ness. I don't know anything about the backstory of Elliot Ness, but from this movie, this perspective, very interesting because you can see that he deals with so much law. He deals with a lot of backstabbing. He doesn't know what to do in sense of like he's a family man, but he also is at work all day, so he's trying to balance both. Kevin Costner did a good job with that character. I really liked that there was growth in that character. You see that he was really dedicated to being cool with everybody on the force and in that police department. Till later in the movie, you see that you can't really trust anybody. If you want to get this mission done to get Al Capone, you really got to have that mindset of just straight war. You can't trust anybody. Really liked the calm voice. Didn't really erupt too much, didn't really move too crazy, like too fast, like he was like the leader. He just knew what he wanted to do, and I think with the lines and the character vibe and feel with his team, good characteristics. Every character here has their own superpower in here that you can tell he's good for that character is good for this. He came from being so nice, if that makes sense, and just trying to get that story out and trying to get Al Capone, get that photo out. And that's one thing about the movie that I liked as well. The photographers in this movie, Elliot Ness talks with a photographer in this movie a lot, and I really liked that photographer character because he's bringing along the camera. Everybody got their news and their information through the newspaper, so very good detail and really cool to see that perspective. But Elliot Ness, really enjoyed his character for being cool and really trying to get the job done. But with his character, really liked seeing that era feel. You saw him with his family listening to the radio. When I saw that on the screen, caught me off guard for a bit because I'm like, yo, I totally forgot people used to entertain themselves by just listening to the radio. So really cool to see a lot of the Chicago / era feel with Elliot Ness. Standout for me is Sean Connery. He played the character Jim Malone. He was like a patrol officer just wandering around doing his thing. Ends up interacting with the character Elliot Ness later in the film. While watching this movie, I'm like, yo, this guy is actually really good. And after watching the movie, I ended up finding out that he actually won the Oscar for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. The performance was definitely felt. His message on putting out that mentor vibe and, yo, don't give up on yourself. We're going to war. We're not going to stop till this gets done vibe. Kind of like a father figure role for Elliot Ness. When you watch this, look out for his character because that was a dope character. Shocker for me was actually Andy Garcia looking like Al Pacino for a second, and I was like, yo, who is that? But he plays the character George Stone, character that was really dedicated in that city. He wanted to make a name for himself. He don't take ish from nothing. I really like his growth. He was like that hitman that you can send out, and that person on your team, you're like, yo, I can trust him to get the job done. Good acting by Andy Garcia. He put out a really good vibe, cool gangster look, and it fit for that era. Charles Martin Smith plays the character Oscar Wallace. He's the accountant in here. He's also trying to hunt down Al Capone and take him down for tax evasion. You can see his growth in the movie from just being like a classroom type of kid / mathematic nerd to being handed a gun and seeing the growth from when he received that gun. So his character was an interesting one. It was really cool to have him on the team as well and see that he was more of like that smart / let me hunt him down for the taxes side. Good acting and good feel character with the Untouchables, and it was really cool to see that accountant was doing his thing in this movie as well. All the characters in here are all believable, even on Al Capone side. All the mafia gangster people on his side are all look believable. The camera direction did a great job job in many scenarios in here, doing close-ups, slow motion shots, moving around shots, very fun moments with the camera, because at times you're moving with the camera as if you're the person. So really dope. The movie does a good job on bringing that Chicago feel with the clothes, the guns, all the cars, all the places this movie brings you to. Al Capone's hotel that he was staying at, to Jim Malone's house where he was staying at, classy places to all the grimy places, all enjoyable. There's a lot of moments in this movie where you can see Al Capone's people show up at Elliot Ness's house and you're like, yo, this is about to get crazy. You see it in the neighborhood. You end up at the border at one time in this movie and there's a crazy shootout, so you see a shootout. Every character is very good on expressing the stress of that feel. Like I said, you do see a lot of blood in here. This movie does not shy away on showing blood. Overall, great movie, fun ride. It's a slow motion scene at the end that was a little bit too slow, but it wasn't a cheesy thing, but it was a noticeable thing. After my watching the movie Untouchables out of 10, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. So that's my movie review for the movie Untouchables. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.